The moment the stranger calmly told me, "Sir, you need to vacate the premises. I purchased this penthouse 3 weeks ago," I thought it was an elaborate, cruel joke. This wasn't some rented apartment. This was my home, my sanctuary, a luxury penthouse I had bought outright 20 years ago with the sweat of my entrepreneurial life. But the joke turned into a nightmare when I realized the signature on the deed transfer wasn't forged. It was a near-perfect forgery of my signature, executed by the one person I thought I could trust with my life, my only daughter, Clara. She hadn't just sold my multi-million-dollar asset out from under me. She did it to cover the crushing gambling debts of her worthless husband, David, leaving me, a 65-year-old widower, utterly destitute and facing eviction. When I called her, demanding an explanation for her monstrous betrayal, she had the audacity to laugh and dismiss me with the most cutting phrase, "Go back to where you belong, you homeless person." Was I right to use every single ounce of my remaining power to legally and financially destroy her and her husband? Or should I have prioritized family love over justice? Tell me, if your own child stole your entire future and mocked your financial ruin, would you show mercy, or would you unleash a calculated, final revenge? My name is Arthur, and until 6 weeks ago, I was living what I considered a highly successful, if slightly solitary, retirement. I am 65 years old, a widower. My beloved wife, Helen, passed away 5 years ago after a long illness. My wealth was not inherited. I built it myself, starting a small, successful tech supply company that I sold in my late 50s, leaving me financially secure for life. My most prized possession, the symbol of my achievement, was the penthouse, a sprawling, luxurious apartment with a panoramic view of the city skyline. It was the only tangible thing I had left of my life with Helen. My daughter, Clara, 35, was my only child. I loved her fiercely, perhaps too much. She was always entitled, always expecting things to be handed to her, a trait I regret fostering. She married David, a slick, charming failure of a man, 5 years ago. I disliked David instantly. He was all promises and no delivery, constantly dabbling in sure-thing schemes that evaporated quickly. I warned Clara about him, but she was infatuated. The financial problems started almost immediately. Over the years, I bailed them out several times, a 5-figure sum for a business opportunity, a small loan for Clara's boutique that predictably failed. Each time I made it clear, this was the last time. David, it turned out, wasn't just a poor businessman. He was a serious, deeply entrenched gambler. 6 weeks ago, my comfortable world dissolved. I was enjoying a morning coffee overlooking the city when my doorbell rang. It was a lawyer, flanked by a burly man who was clearly an enforcer. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, was polite but firm. He handed me a notice. "Mr. Davies," he said, "I represent the new owner, Mr. Elias. You have 48 hours to vacate. We are filing an eviction order today." I laughed in his face. "Are you mad? I own this place free and clear." Mr. Henderson just smiled sadly and pulled out a stack of documents. "Sir, according to this legally executed deed of sale, you sold this property for $2 million cash 3 weeks ago. The funds were transferred to an offshore account in your name. We have a signed, notarized closing statement." I snatched the paper. My signature was there, nearly perfect, but it wasn't mine. It was a forgery, expertly done. My mind raced, trying to figure out who could have done this, who had access to my files, my notary stamp, who had the sheer audacity. It hit me with the force of a physical blow. Clara, she had the access. She and David often visited, and she knew where I kept my important documents. I had given her power of attorney, POA, 5 years ago when Helen was sick, a document I foolishly never revoked. I immediately called my bank and my personal lawyer, Sarah Jenkins. Sarah confirmed the nightmare. Clara had used the old, still valid POA to facilitate the sale. She and David had then withdrawn the full $2 million in a series of swift, untraceable international transfers. The house was gone, the money was gone. I was sitting in my own home, a man with zero assets, facing eviction. I demanded to know where Clara was. My lawyer discovered that she and David had booked one-way tickets to a small, non-extradition country in Southeast Asia. They were planning to vanish within the week. I called Clara's cell phone immediately, my voice shaking with a mixture of terror and hot fury. She answered, her voice sounding strangely carefree. "Clara, what did you do?" I managed to choke out. She sighed, sounding bored. "Oh, Dad, you found out already. David was stressing so badly about his losses, and your place was just sitting there, right? We just took care of it. Think of it as an early inheritance." "Inheritance?" I roared. "You stole my entire life savings. I am 65. I have nothing left." That's when she delivered the line that became the fuel for my revenge. She giggled, a horrible, mocking sound. "Well, you always said you were good at starting over, Dad. Now you have the chance to practice. You don't need all that space anyway. Just go back to where you belong. ***, you homeless person, ***. And she hung up. The absolute, cold malice in that final insult, the intentional destruction of my future followed by mockery, flipped a switch in my brain. The soft, forgiving father died on that phone call. The ruthless businessman who built his empire from nothing was all that remained. So that's the situation I was in. My only daughter had committed a monstrous act of financial theft using forged documents and my old POA to liquidate my home and life savings to pay off her gambler husband's debts, and then called me a homeless person. She and David were planning to flee the country within days. Before I tell you about the extreme, calculated measures I took to ensure they never left and lost everything, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have tried to reason with your daughter for the sake of family, or would you have unleashed every legal and financial tool at your disposal to bring them down? I didn't waste a second. I told Mr. Henderson's crew to wait. I had 48 hours, and I planned to use every minute. My lawyer, Sarah, was the key. She and I worked non-stop for the next 36 hours, meticulously building a case that was not about reconciliation, but utter financial destruction. First, the *** financial blockade ***. The $2 million was gone, moved into untraceable crypto exchanges and offshore accounts. But I knew David still had *** one major weakness ***. His high-stakes gambling accounts were funded through certain domestic investment portfolios and credit lines, and those domestic accounts still had some residual, accessible assets. Working with Sarah, I immediately filed a civil claim for fraud, theft, and elder abuse, accompanied by an emergency *** injunction asset freeze ** against David and Clara. We targeted every domestic bank account, stock portfolio, and credit line they still possessed. The key was speed. Within 24 hours, their last remaining assets, a small vacation condo, their luxury cars, and about $200,000 in domestic stocks, were frozen solid. Second, the ** legal trap ***. The moment the asset freeze was filed, I knew they would try to flee faster. I worked with Sarah and a sharp prosecutor friend to ensure the fraud charge included the specific use of my old POA, which, combined with the successful sale of the real property, elevated the case from simple civil theft to ***, felony grand larceny and wire fraud ***, with a high flight risk. Sarah presented the full case, including the immediate liquidation of $3.2 million, the one-way tickets, and the POA abuse, directly to a specialized judge. Third, the ***, physical detainment ***. The judge, seeing the clear evidence of large-scale financial crime and flight risk, issued immediate *** arrest warrants and a no-bail hold ** against both Clara and David, backed by a global alert. We didn't wait for the general police force. Sarah's contact ensured the warrants were prioritized and sent directly to the airport security and border patrol. Clara and David showed up at the airport 40 hours after my phone call, 2 hours before their flight was scheduled to depart. They were feeling secure, thinking they had already won. They were arrested at the passport control counter. The sight of their booking being canceled, of them being pulled aside and handcuffed, was the ultimate validation. My ruthlessness had paid off. The money was gone, but their freedom and their remaining, small assets were now mine. The immediate aftermath was devastating for them. They were denied bail and held pending trial. The local assets we froze were liquidated and awarded to me as partial restitution, barely enough to cover my initial legal fees, let alone the $3.2 million theft. But the public shaming and the complete destruction of their futures was the real victory. During the trial, Clara tried to cry and plead for mercy, but the recordings of her carefree attitude and that final, vicious phone call were presented as evidence of malice. David's extensive gambling history was laid bare. They were both convicted. Clara received 7 years for grand larceny and fraud. David, being the primary debt holder and plotter, received 10. I sold the recovered stocks and cars, and with a small amount of cash, bought a small, comfortable condo. Nothing like the penthouse, but it was mine, and it was paid for. I am starting over, just as Clara had mockingly suggested, but I am doing it with my dignity intact. I visit Helen's grave and tell her that her daughter paid the price for her monstrous greed. I lost the money, but I executed the kind of vengeance the ruthless businessman I once was would have been proud of. I may have sacrificed my daughter, but I reclaimed my sanity and proved that even an old man stripped of everything can fight back with surgical precision. Like this video if you think my calculated revenge was the only appropriate response to my daughter's monstrous betrayal. Subscribe for more stories of shocking family betrayals and the intense pursuit of justice. Share your final thoughts on the true cost of ungrateful children in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.